Good morning, everyone. And thank you, Malcolm, for the beautiful music. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church of the Desert. I am Stephen Toporoff, and it's my honor to be your worship associate for today. Before we begin, please silence cell phones, watches, and anything else that may ring or ding. Thank you. Every Sunday, we begin by acknowledging that we are on the historic homelands of the various bands of Kuya people, and we honor the unique relationship that we hope emerges between our community and the indigenous people and their traditional territories. Let this acknowledgement serve as a reminder to recognize, honor, reconcile, and partner with the Kuya people, whose land and water we benefit from today. In this congregation, we strive to honor the inherent worth and dignity of every person. You are welcome here no matter your background, race, ancestry, and culture. We welcome people of all sexual orientations and gender identities, of all ages and sizes, people of all economic statuses and professions, and all physical and mental abilities. We welcome you wherever you are from, whoever you love, whatever your immigration status or civil engagement. We welcome all those who, who will learn and grow with us as we commit together to embrace the rich and beautiful diversity of the world and to build a community centered in justice, compassion, and love. Whether you are participating in person here today in the sanctuary or online, we are glad you are with us. If you'd like to know more about us, please visit our website, uucod.org. And you could also write to us at admin, A-D-M-I-N, at uuc.org. At this time, I would like to take a moment to greet any newcomers and visitors. If you are here for the first time and are comfortable doing so, you are invited to stand or raise your hand, and an usher will come by with a microphone. Right now, start at that end, okay. Right now, please share just your name and where you are from. After the service, we could get to know you better during coffee hour. So, any takers, any visitors over there, here? Doesn't seem so. We're all seasoned participants. Okay. All right. So we'll begin with Rev. Ian ringing our Tibetan bowl and listen to our music for centering.
Thank you, Malcolm. Good morning and welcome. I'm the Reverend Ian Riddell, and I have the joy and delight of serving this congregation as its minister. Welcome to you, however many times you've been here. Whether you're joining us here or online, we're so glad you're here today. Our denomination, the Unitarian Universalist Association, of which this congregation, is a part, will be having its General Assembly, its annual large gathering over the next week, this year entirely virtually. But I thought that because of that, it would be wonderful to share, to have our opening words to gather us together today from the president of the Unitarian Universalist Association, the Reverend Dr. Sophia Betancourt. She writes, Unitarian Universalism demands that we remain engaged with the ongoing struggles of life and that we work toward the world community with peace, liberty, and justice for all. Our faith requires us to work for freedom, but it also invites us to recognize that work in the many small actions of our living. I believe in Unitarian Universalism's commitment to be the tireless voice, and I know that none of us can sustain such a depth of prophetic witness alone. It takes many of us in community to insist that a better future is possible, to keep us faithful to our commitments when we err or when we falter, We need one another to remind ourselves that we are constantly connected to a hope-filled belief in human goodness and capacity for love, even when we feel furthest from this truth. How do we get to that sustaining love? I believe we get to that love by sharing it. Every Unitarian Universalist has something that keeps them inspired, keeps them hopeful, keeps them grounded in the face of dust and grit of life. And each of us also falters. Each of us can find ourselves overscheduled, overwhelmed, or just plain worn out. In those moments, it is often the example of another person's commitment and resolve that reminds us of our own. May our connections to a greater community renew and even repair grief and weariness in our hearts, or anything that keeps us from being more loving. Together, may we thrive. This is why we come together, friends. Welcome today to worship. And we are also a questioning people, and so we're going to sing our opening song that asks a lot of questions of us. It is called Where Do We Come From? And we have sung it before, but you may not remember it, so here's what we're going to do. There are 4 parts to this song. Don't worry. Oh, you know me too well. One day there will be 6, don't worry. There are 4 parts to this song. Don't worry, you don't have to remember all of them. And what we're going to do is we're going to sing through each one twice to remind us of how it goes. And then I'm going to invite you to choose one of the 4 and sing it. You don't have to sing all 4. Just choose one of the 4, whichever one your heart calls to you today, whichever one your voice would let you sing, whichever one you remember. And we're going to sing, we're going to create musical beauty and chaos together. And then when it's time for it to be done, I'll let you know, and we're all going to sing number 3 together twice to end us, okay? So, let's just, Malcolm, can we have the chord, please? First one goes like, where do we come from? What are we? Where are we going? Where do we come from? What are we? Where are we? Sing that again. Where do we come from? Just sing the first one. Where are we going? Where do we come from? What are we? Where are we going? Okay, the second one goes like this. Where do we come from? I'll sing the second one. Where do we come from? That's in the third one. Mystery. Mystery. Life is a riddle and a mystery. 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 Life is a riddle and a mystery. Where do we come from? Where are we going? Where do we come from? Where are we going? Okay, that's the 4 of them. So what we're going to do now is we're all going to sing the third one, Mystery, twice, and then I'd like you to sing whichever one you want for a while, and then we'll go back to Mystery. Does that feel okay? I think you're laughing because you're nervous. And I want to tell you something. You don't need to be. 1, you've got it. 2, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It will sound glorious, and we're singing together. So, mystery. And here's a trick for the mystery one. If you take an audible breath on the rest, mystery, mystery, you won't mess up the rhythm. Okay, here we go. Mystery. And up. Mystery, mystery, life is a riddle and a mystery. Mystery, mystery, life is a riddle and a mystery. Where
And now Rev Ian is going to light our chalice, and as he does so, please read along the words that will appear on the screen. May love be the spirit of this church. May the quest for truth be its sacrament, and service be its prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge and freedom, and to help one another in fellowship. This is our aspiration. And I invite Sarita to come forward to light our BIPOC candles. And as she does so, we could read along the words that will be on the screen. We light these candles in solidarity with Black, Indigenous, and other people of color as we journey together towards spiritual wholeness. May we, as a beloved community, work to dismantle racism and all forms of oppression. May we live out our principles so that justice, dignity, and equity for all prevail.
friendships have been forgot, ours will still be hot. La 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 la, ding ding ding. If you're ever on a tree, to me. Why don't you telephone me? If you're ever down, ring my bell. All you have to do is ring my bell. If you ever lose your cash and you're out to dine, borrow mine. It's friendship, friendship, just a perfect friendship. When other friendships have been forgot, ours will still be hot. La 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 la, chun chun chun. La 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 la, hip hip hip. If they ever black your eyes, if they ever cook your blues, they'll be wise, generally lose. But you got me and I got you. It's friendship, friendship, just a perfect friendship. When other friendships have been forgot, ours will still be hot. La 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 la, hip hip hip.
Well, thank you, choir, for 2 selections today. So as many of you know, this Sunday is Share the Plate. And every month we share our collection with a local charity. This Sunday, we're sharing the plate with Well in the Desert. So Matt Naylor, who is the Well in the Desert's president, hoped to join us today, but he could not. He is thankful for all that we do. So I'm going to read a little bit of words from him. He wants us to know that our monthly donation of socks through our Socks on the Second campaign is greatly appreciated by their clients. He says it's a relief to know that they can rely on us to bring socks each month, and it's one less thing that they need to spend money on. You should know that over the last 8 years, when the Social Justice Committee began the Socks campaign, our beloved community has donated almost 9,000 pairs of socks. Matt says that the Well relies 100% on the generosity of people like us. They receive no money from Palm Springs City Council nor state grants. So any donation, large or small, is critical to helping them survive. Since their previous president, Arlene Rosenthal, passed away last year, it has been a tough time financially. Many people expected the Well to shut down. But though they are working on a shoestring budget, they are committed to their mission. In the year 2023, they served over 73,000 meals. Applaud that. In addition to serving lunch Monday through Friday at area churches, they give food boxes to 165 families every Saturday. They also offer a wide array of services through advocacy to those affected by poverty, including the working poor, the unhoused, seniors, veterans, handicapped individuals, and other people in the western end of the Coachella Valley. Most importantly, the Well treats their clients with respect and dignity. Matt invites all of us at UUCOD to come down to one of their 5 lunchtime sites and see all the wondrous stuff that is going on. Won't you please give as generously as you are able here in the sanctuary? And if you are watching online, from the link you received in the email earlier today.
Friends, these are the joys that have been written down, that have been shared out loud, but the world is wide and our hearts are fragile sometimes, even when they are strong. And so there are joys and sorrows that live inside of us that we do not speak out loud. So I invite you for a moment to join me in a time of prayer, contemplation, or reflection, whatever feels most comfortable for you. Spirit of life, fire of our broken but still shining hearts, we gather together today as we gather each week to be in community with each other. We come bearing grief, we come bearing anxiety and anger, we come bearing joy and hope and happiness. We come together to see each other's faces and hear each other's voices, be reminded by the presence of each other, we are not alone in our joy or our sorrow. We gather together in a world that feels like it's more full of violence than it has ever been. We gather together in a world where there is war, where there should not be war, where innocent people are put in danger and harmed, held captive. And we hold in our hearts all of those who suffer at the hands of war, all of those whose homes have been destroyed, whose livelihoods have been removed, who have lost loved ones, who face the fear of death each day. We hold them in our hearts, not only in our hearts, but in our spirits, in our bodies, as we make the work of our life to change the world towards a world of peace. May our grief and our anger transform into action, into speaking, into doing to build a different kind of world. We hold in our hearts today all those victims of gun violence in our country, shootings that seem to continue to happen on a daily and weekly basis all around us, though they have become so common to us that they do not make the national news anymore. We hold our anger at this ongoing situation. We hold our grief and our fear tight in our hearts. And we share our love with those who suffer at the hands of this violence, share our commitment to build a different kind of country, a country where this is not commonplace, a country where this is not the way things go. We hold that in our hearts. And we gather together today with hope. We see around us, hear around us the voices of justice, the voices of freedom, the voices of possibility. We see neighbor kind to neighbor, friend kind to friend, citizen kind to citizen, supporting and helping and hoping. We see and we choose to treat each other with dignity, with hope, and with possibility. And so this we carry in our hearts as well. We are gathered here in each other's presence and in the presence of the love which holds us and binds us, enlivens us, and sparks our spirit into possibility, into hope, and into action. And so we pause for a moment now in the embrace of this community and the embrace of that love. May all beings know peace. May all beings know an end to suffering. May all beings know love. Dear ones, will you join your voices together as we sing Spirit of Life, Fuente de Amor? Friends, will you take a deep breath with me? How about one more? Breathe. I've been your minister for almost 3 years now. And this week I was thinking back over that time and thinking about our Sunday morning services and the parts that make up that service, the music, thank you, choir, the joys and sorrows, the hymns, the readings, rituals, sharing, and the prayers. And when I think about the prayers, the meditations, the reflections that we've been sharing together over the past years, I'm realizing how many of them hold up the fact that the world is a complex, messy, often painful, and anxiety-inducing place to be. It is also beautiful and joyful as well, of course, but I really feel the weight today of how often we share about the anxiety of the world, of the impact on our neighbors and kin of our nation's politics, of the results of violence in the world. The times feel so heavy, so dangerous, so out-of-the-box absurd at times. And while I know you all care about what is going on, I can imagine that sometimes in the quiet of your mind or your heart, you wonder why. Why now? Why us? Why do I have to be the one dealing with all of this? You don't need to admit it out loud, but I can bet that if you have that thought, you are definitely not alone in this room. I want to ask you a question, and I'd love it if some of you would be willing to call out your answer to that question. I'll repeat the answer that are shared so that those online and everyone here in the room can hear your answers as well. So AV friends, don't panic. What do you do? How do you take care of yourself when the world is too much? When the anxiety about the future of our communities is overwhelming? What do you do? How do you take care of yourself? Cocooning? Gardening, going for a walk? Writing about it? turning off the news, Googling other places to live? Pardon? Turn off the news? Come here, says the minister. Others? Music. Dog, petting the dog. Just keep going. Zen meditation. Yoga, so many wonderful ways to take care of ourselves. Chocolate. There we go. There we go. There are lots of things to do. There are lots of things that I do, but there's one that I've noticed over the past year. I love to listen to podcasts and audiobooks when I'm driving, exploring new ideas, new voices, new authors I've never read or heard before. As I drive around town, I usually have a podcast or an audiobook playing in the car. But lately, I've noticed my habit has shifted. Rather than a multitude of different things, I have spent large, and I mean large amounts of time on a couple of very specific things. For example, I spent a lot of time over the past year or so listening to the English actor Stephen Fry read the complete Sherlock Holmes. I don't mean a couple of stories. I mean all 4 novels and all 56 short stories. It's a lot of Holmes and Watson. I cannot recommend it highly enough. Stephen Fry is so good. And I remembered how important Holmes and Watson had been to me in my younger years, how I loved reading about their friendship, how I loved reading the stories in the Jeremy Brett TV versions, not a Basil Rathbone fan, but Jeremy Brett, definitely. And I realized I was seeking comfort and connection to my childhood self. After I finished Sherlock Holmes, I didn't move back to the new voices and ideas. Nope. Just last week, I finished listening to actor Andy Serkis read all of The Hobbit and all of the 3 volumes of The Lord of the Rings. I'll tell you, I started on Stephen King yesterday, so that's another story, but which is childhood reading for me. So I think I was seeking comfort and connection to a calmer, more certain part of myself. So clearly that's one of the things I do in challenging times. I find comfort in literature that has been important to me throughout my life, and it does bring me comfort. But it also tells me things I need to hear. Because The Lord of the Rings is not just simple nostalgia. It is a profound and powerful story about a diverse group of beings who would normally not be getting along so well, fighting the spread of fascism and evil in their world, fighting, in fact, an evil that many of them thought had been vanquished long ago. We read of good people corrupted by the whispering voice of evil, people stymied by doubt of their own worth, people lulled into false security because things like that don't happen here. It's not just a fantasy novel. And we read of people who find strength in each other, who find hope in a vision of a just future, who find possibility in their deep connections to the magic and power of love and trust. Near the beginning of the book, the great wizard Gandalf is talking with Frodo. And for those of you who don't know, Frodo is a small creature called a hobbit who will become the central focus of the quest to destroy the ring created by the evil Sauron to contain his power. A magic ring which corrupts anyone who has it or uses it. Gandalf is telling Frodo about the history of that ring and the other rings that are enslaved to it, the rings of power, and how their world is under threat, and how high the stakes are in the quest to destroy that one ring. I wish it need not have happened in my time, said Frodo. So do I, said Gandalf, and so do all who live to see such times, but that is not for them to decide. All we have to decide is what to do with the time that is given us. Where do we turn to figure out what to do? Well, we are Unitarian Universalists, and perhaps we might turn to scholars and experts and books who think and write and argue about evil and tyranny and fascism and how it might all be unfolding and how we might choose to resist or push back. I talked a little bit last year to you about Timothy Snyder. Snyder is the author of, among other things, a book called On Tyranny, 20 Lessons from the 20th Century. He is a scholar of history and resistant movements in Europe and other places. He looks at the experiences of those in Eastern Europe and pre-World War II Western Europe to see the ways in which people resisted fascism and totalitarianism. He holds up 20 techniques for resisting fascism and resisting the growth of tyranny. He recently, a little more than a year ago, came out with a new edition of the book that takes a look at how we get to where we are with Russia and the Ukraine lately, but I would recommend this book to you highly. I shared, as I said, some of his thinking a year ago, and I wanted to come back to it again, perhaps looking at a few different of the techniques. I'm not going to share all 20 that I shared then. So some of the techniques he shares with us about how to resist tyranny, how to resist fascism. One, he says, is stand out. Someone has to. It's easy to follow along. It can feel strange to say something, these are his words, say something different. But without that unease, there is no freedom. Remember Rosa Parks, he says. The moment you set an example, the spell of the status quo is broken and others will follow, he wrote. So speak out when you hear something, when you see something, when your friend says something, when your spouse says something, when your neighbor says something, speak. I mean, be safe, but speak out. Say something. That's not how I see it. I don't think that's very kind. The next one I want to share, he says, is believe in truth. In this country, lately, over the past years, we've been part of a large campaign to scatter our understanding of what the truth is, to not pay attention to the truth, to have lies told in the service of power. And so Timothy Snyder says to abandon facts is to abandon freedom. If nothing is true, then no one can criticize power because there's no basis on which to do it. So believe in the truth. Pay attention to the truth. Figure out what is the truth. Now, we all understand that there may be multiple truths in multiple situations, but lies are lies. And believe in the truth. Pay attention. The next one goes along with that. Investigate. Figure things out for yourself. Now, I know a lot of us are still shaking at our head. Oh, I did some research on the internet. But we need to be able to take what we hear and what we see and examine it and understand where it comes from, what its meaning and what its goal is. He writes, subsidize investigative journalism. He invites us to subscribe to print media, but investigative journalism. Support it. Realize that some of what is on the internet is there to hurt you and to cause you fear and to make you wonder about what the truth is. Investigate, learn how to investigate what propaganda is. Figure out how to resist it. And take responsibility for how you communicate with others. That meme on Facebook or Instagram that got you so angry, did you just click share without thinking, without pausing, without paying attention? Many of you may not be on Facebook or Instagram, but how the information you get in, how are you sharing that with others? How are you being responsible for that information and for each other? And then he says, contribute to good causes. Be active in organizations, political or not, that express your own view of life. That is, I think, one of the things we do here, but you can be involved in so many ways in supporting institutions and organizations that stand for human dignity, that speak up for care and kindness, and that work towards freedom and democracy in our society. So that's one place we can look to some experts. Where else might we look? Well, here we are in a world where fascism and right-wing ideologies are finding new strength and popularity in all areas of the world, not just here in the United States. You only have to look at the recent European elections to be concerned about this. In a world where we learn daily of the corruption of judges and the flouting of our systems of justice by demagogues and pundits, in a world where the ills of the day are blamed on those already marginalized and downtrodden to pivot attention away from inhuman economic and social systems, in a world where violence and war seem to be the first choice made by governments and movements. This is a world that looks a lot like the world that the Hebrew prophet Micah encountered and judged. Micah lived in what he considered a massively corrupt time, but he had a vision for the future of his people. We sang a version of his description of that vision a little while ago in our service. These are the words from the Hebrew scriptures that were massaged into that hymn that we sang a couple of weeks ago. And they shall beat their swords into plowshares and their spears into pruning hooks. Nation shall not take up sword against nation. They shall never again know war, but every person shall sit under the grapevine or fig tree with none to disturb. The words of the prophet Micah. And then Micah shares what he knows that the people need to do. He rejects ritual and sacrifice and says, in the language of his time, the language of his tradition, he has told you, O mortal, what is good, and what does the divine require of you? Only to do justice, to love goodness, and to walk modestly with your God, with the divine. Justice, goodness, modesty. Some versions say justice, kindness, humility. And it's not just think about justice, it's do justice. Not just complaining about injustice, but do justice. And the word that here is translated as goodness or kindness is the word that Briner reflected on a couple of weeks ago from this pulpit, chesed. The translation that I find most powerful in this context is steadfast faithfulness. Steadfast faithfulness to covenant and community and to the divine, whatever that is for you. And then walking humbly in the companionship of that divinity. Coming back to that word chesed, I'm with Brina. It's important. It's really important. Chesed doesn't just point us toward being nice to each other, but grounding our relationships in covenant, in commitment, in trust. This covenant, this trust, is at the core of our own Unitarian Universalist tradition, what our faith calls us to do, to be in covenant with each other, with the wider world, and to turn to our values and our principles when we make decisions about what to do. The value of interdependence that we hold up, whether it's the new Article 2 language of interdependence or the seventh principle of the interdependent web, we are called to deepen, not just understand that, but to deepen our connections, to deepen ourselves into that interdependence with each other. Sophia Bettencourt said we need one another to remind ourselves that we are constantly connected to a hope-filled belief in human goodness and capacity for love, even when we feel farthest from this knowing. It was not at all silly for the choir to sing Friendship this morning. It brought us joy, it brought us smiles, but friendship, building and keeping and nurturing and holding on to friendship in the face of this world is so vital to our survival and our thriving. Friendship, just the perfect blendship. And interdependence, deep connection with what is within and beyond us. How are each of us, individually and collectively, how are you engaged in prayer? If that word is hard for you, how are you engaged in meditation, in journaling, in chanting, in spiritual practices that help you find space to rest in what holds you, to rest in what holds us? Find the space to see clearly what we are called to be for each other in the world. We hold dearly values in our tradition of generosity and of equity. How do we ground our response to people and things in care and kindness rather than correctness? I know I said earlier that we should speak up, that we should speak up against lies, speak up for truth. But those responses are grounded in our understanding that we care for each other, that we hold each other high in our hearts with esteem and dignity, rather than correctness. I'm not going to give that homeless person money because they'll just spend it on X. Care for people, care for each other. And we have a high value on entering into transformation. We understand as Unitarian Universalists, I hope we understand as Unitarian Universalists, that though we are perfect just the way we are, there's room for some change, as Pema Chodron says. We are called to engage in responsible searches for truth and meaning. Watch what you read, but don't stop reading. Don't hide from the world all the time. Be engaged. Let the world speak to you. Let the world and that spirit deep within you connect with each other in you so that you can figure out how to be in the world. And speaking up, we have a strong commitment to justice, and so that Timothy Snyder's call for us to speak up echoes in our tradition as well. And don't forget to practice joy. Don't forget to laugh. That's so central to who we are as human beings. The world is joyful and beautiful as well. Don't give that up. Pay attention to it. Enjoy the beauty of the music that the choir and Malcolm bring us. Enjoy the frivolity of trying to figure out how to sing in 4 parts on a Sunday morning. Enjoy the food you eat. Enjoy life. Life is fabulous, along with being horrible sometimes. Don't forget that. And at the core of so much that we do, and we are not the only ones, but at our core is our commitment to love, to living out love in the world. I have had many words for you about love over the years, and I will have more. But today I want to share the words of Tennessee Williams. The world is violent and mercurial. It will have its way with you. We are saved only by love. Love for each other, and the love that we pour into the art we feel compelled to share, the art of being a parent, the art of being a writer, the art of being a painter, of being a friend. We live in a perpetually burning building, and what we must save from it all the time, he writes, is love. My friends, even with the things going on out in the world, I have hope seeing your faces this morning. I have hope knowing the work that we do here in this community that we spread into the world around us. The work of resisting fascism is the work of imagining and envisioning a community and a society that is grounded in love, grounded in justice, grounded in the embracing of the richness and diversity of life. We are engaged in the work of being a people who find strength in each other, who find hope in a vision of a just future, who find possibility in their deep connections to the magic and power of love and trust. I have hope even in the midst of anger and sadness because of who we claim we are and who I know we have all committed to work to be together. I have hope, and I know that together we are called to build a new way. May it be so. Yes. No, I can't do that. That's not, they've done their work for the day. They've done their work. We're all going to sing together. So I invite you in body and I invite you in body or spirit to rise as we sing together our closing hymn, Building a New Way.
We are
we have 3 items of congregational, I keep saying congressional. That's because I was a lawyer in Washington, D.C. for 30 years. So congregational comes out as, anyway, congregational news. Bryna?
Because nobody has said anything yet today, to all the fathers, grandfathers, grandpies, and papas, I honor you. It's not an easy job being a dad, although I've never been one. I came this morning to invite you all to my husband's workshop Wednesday morning at 10 o'clock on sleep. And the reason I came to invite you is because he is a master sleeper. In fact, and you can hold me to this, half the time he is asleep before he's horizontal. So everybody, please come Wednesday morning at 10 o'clock and learn from the best.
And Leslie Gephardt, and Leslie, who's sitting over there, would like to announce the start of a new project. And that is anyone who is an author who may have books that they have just lying around that have not been sold. The project will think through how we can make use of the books. And Leslie wants me to read the following. To any authors among us who have leftover books in storage, ready to be out in the light, this is for you. In a date in the near future, we'll be inviting you authors to set up on the patio a table to greet visitors and congregants and hand out books for them to enjoy. The tables will be provided. You bring any of your own work, you are ready to donate. And so this is a work in progress and perhaps could be extended to anyone who has any kind of books to give away. And so there'll be more about this in the newsletter as well as here, congregational news. Leslie, anything else? Okay, sure. And Shirley?
Good morning. If you're like Terry and me, getting ready on Sunday mornings is rather hectic, and we don't have time to read things that we normally would. So I want to read to you from today's Desert Sun, Sunday, June 15th, 10 Things to Do in the Coachella Valley This Week by Nikki Cutman. Script to Stage to Screen presents closing production engagement rules. Script to Stage to Screen will host its final company production this month, a staged reading of the new original comedy Engagement Rules by Rich Orloff. The company describes the production as a 4-character comedy with bite. That follows the intertwined lives of 2 couples who have become good friends despite, or because of perhaps, their multi-decade age gap. Both couples face problems at the intersection of sexuality and spirituality, an untimely pregnancy for the younger couple, and fear of sexual inadequacy for the older couple, forcing everyone to face questions that none of them can answer easily about morality, mortality, and the beginnings of life. On June 30th, Script to Stage to Screen will cease operations. Audience members are invited to a champagne reception before each of these performances to celebrate S2S's 15 successful seasons. When? This Friday and Saturday night at 7:30, right here in our sanctuary on our little tiny stage. We hope you will come, and remember, everybody here gets in free. The other people have to pay $15. But what we do ask is that you please sign the sheets on the table in the foyer so we can guesstimate how much champagne we need to buy. And chocolates. We will have chocolates for those who that helps. To your anxiety, we got your back. We hope to see you here. Thank you so much.
And Revian is going to extinguish our chalice. And as he does so, please read along. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts, and so we are together again.
So I forgot about the chalice extinguishing, and I do want to thank Bryna and apologize. I do normally talk about Father's Day, and today it just went out of my head. So thank you, Bryna, for bringing that to us. I do have one announcement before I enter into our benediction, that next week's service is special every year. We share, as I said at the beginning of the service, this coming week is our Unitarian Universalist Association's General Assembly, and we have started to make it a practice of sharing the Sunday morning service from General Assembly here in our sanctuary. So if you want to come here, we will watch it on the big screens together. If you would like to stay at home and watch it, the link will be in the newsletter and on the website. So next week, we will be watching the Unitarian Universalist Assembly General Assembly service. There'll be great music, lots of speakers. It will go longer than an hour, so just so you know, but we're gathering here anyway, and if you want to come and join us and watch it together, please do so, or you can watch it at home. One of the things that has been important to me in my ministry has been a song by Holly Near, and it's, yes, Gentle Angry People is important, but it is not that song that I want to talk about today. She wrote a song called I Am Willing. And the verses of the song go like this: there is hurting in my family, there is sorrow in my town, there is panic in the nation, there is wailing the whole world round. May the children see more clearly, may the elders be more wise, may the winds of change caress us even though it burns our eyes. The chorus goes like this: I am open and I am willing, for to be hopeless would seem so strange. It dishonors those who go before us, so lift me up to the light of change. Friends, with our hearts filled with the light of change, with open and willing hearts, go in peace to love and serve this beautiful, complex world. May it be so.